The ranking member, Mr. Frank, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, as my retirement approaches, a certain amount of nostalgia is inescapable. I try not to indulge it, but I am overwhelmed with it today. It's 2006 all over again. When I was about to become chairman of this committee after the 2006 election, I was besieged by the Wall Street Journal and Wall Street people and the Chamber of Commerce with pleas that we deregulate America, that if we did not dismantle Sarbanes-Oxley and cut back on the oppressive regulation of the financial community, everybody would soon be in England or in Hong Kong. And of course, what then happened was the worst collapse of the American economy in a very long time, precisely because of the lack of regulation. And people seem to have forgotten that. I'm hearing again that the problems in the American economy are too much regulation. Ben Bernanke, who I will remind people, when President George Bush had an important economic appointment to make, he sent for the usual suspects who were always Ben Bernanke. He appointed Ben Bernanke to be on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve in his first full year. Then he made him chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Then he made him chairman of the Federal Reserve. Ben Bernanke stays on as chairman of the Federal Reserve as the most bipartisan person in this city. And he testified before us, and as my colleague Mr. Hines and some others noted, he listed the headwinds against the American economy. Excessive regulation of the financial industry wasn't one of them. And he said, yes, there are all kinds of factors, but he was asked, and he said, no, it's not a significant headwind. Europe is a headwind. And of course, my colleagues on the other side have tried to retard the efforts of some, including Mr. Bernanke, to help with that. So we are being told now the problem is not enough freedom for the people whose irresponsibility caused this problem. We are being told to back off. We are being told that, gee, the regulations are too complicated for these poor people in the financial industry to understand. Well, you know what was too complicated for them to understand? Their own razzle-dazzle shenanigans. That's what got them into trouble. And I do want to address this question of consolidation. People said we created all these new agencies. Well, there were two agencies that had pretty much similar functions. The Office of Fifth Supervision, the Office of Control of the Currency. We consolidated those. So we got rid of one operating agency, and we created one new operating agency. The FSOC's not a new agency, it's a coordinating council. An Office of Financial Research is not an operating agency. It gets information, which I understand there are people who don't want us to have. But we did create one new agency, and that's really what they're worried about. It's called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And for the first time, we took from existing bank regulators the function of protecting consumers and made it their primary job. And it's been working very well. Although, I think we've had 11 hearings now, oversight hearings, in which we have complained that there is no oversight of this institution. That's not their complaint. Their complaint is it is standing up for consumers, as it recently did regarding Capital One. Now, I will acknowledge there is one major flaw in our structure that I wish I could fix. We should not have a separate Securities Exchange Commission and Commodities Futures Trading Commission. The biggest single gap we had in the American financial regulatory system was the decision to not regulate derivatives at all. And we made a major breakthrough in the Financial Reform Bill regulating derivatives. And we are just now getting those rules in place, partly because 10 people had to be involved. 5 commissioners of the SEC, 5 of the CFTC. And derivatives are split. The problem is that that split reflects a deep cultural and economic split in America. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission was created many years ago to deal with protecting, theoretically, farmers. The Securities Exchange Commission, the Finance Committee. I would very much like to get that consolidated. I noticed the Republicans talked about consolidation. They left that one out. They talked about consolidating the bank industry, the bank agencies. So I just want to go back again to the fundamental point. The notion that the problem in America today with financial institutions is too much regulation. You know, once a week we get a demonstration that that's not true. The bank's lying about LIBOR, a disgraceful pattern of behavior of simply lying. Mr. Diamond at J.P. Morgan Chase, a very well-regarded, justifiably well-regarded executive, losing control of derivative trading, so billions and billions, and just like with AIG, they don't know how much money they had lost. Capital One admitting that they had vendors who were cheating people, and only an independent consumer bureau was able to step in. Now, there have been problems in the past. We had a controller of the currency who, frankly, was not a good regulator in the sense of being tough on the banks. We have a new one, Mr. Curry, and I think you're going to see a great deal of improvement. But the notion that our problem is too much regulation, I guess I am struck by the precocity of people who make that comment, because it is a very articulate statement coming apparently from people who were born sometime early in 2009.
Thank you, Ranking Member. Mr. Grimm from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, Mr. Secretary. American people were told when Dodd-Frank